When you were looking at the blockchain fair as an opportunity to find partners differently, so you were faced with a topic that you were not an expert on, you weren't sure who else was out there in terms of partnership opportunities. You decided to invite a variety of vendors and stakeholders and various players in the ecosystem of the blockchain movement in for a few days of testing and relationship building and experimentation. Did that result in activating partnerships faster, or was that just a faster way for you to identify who could be your partner? Could I have our colleagues, either Ellen or Arpita in the New York hub, just respond to that question?
I'll take a first stab at it, and maybe Helen can add on to that. I don't think it was necessarily faster. It was definitely a more thorough way of doing things. And I saw one of the other questions on Slido was asking about how long the entire process took. So from EOI to the testing, it took about a year. So it's not a quick process by any means. But on the flip side, there was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of feedback given to each of these companies. We were not looking for solutions to be developed, so most of these solutions existed to some extent, and we're looking at how can these be tailored. So there was a lot of feedback given to the companies. We worked with them, especially the ones that were selected for the blockchain lab. So that's about 7 of them. Worked with them more closely to help them understand what are we looking at, what are our priorities, how can we make sure it's fit for purpose for what we were looking at. So no, not a quick process, but I think it was richer for how, yeah. And some of it, I have to admit, we were learning as we went along. So the procurement process, which we the standard procurement process we still needed to go through in the last stage, there was a lot of back and forth on that. We had to model that differently, but still within the limitations set by the process. So that also was fairly time consuming.
Yeah, no, I agree. Not much to add. I think that clearly, as I said in the learning, I think procurement process and the way to select the process, it didn't go any faster or easier, but the knowledge that we gain and the experience and the network that we built, there's no comparison of what we could have done if we had just a regular closed process with a couple of companies under closed door with 2 people, our procurement people and our team, that nothing could be compared. But yes, in terms of efficiency, it was not and timeliness, it was maybe not the best way to go, but it was not as I mentioned, it was not our priority anyway. Our priority was more to learn and to make the right decision and find the right fit and to go fast and maybe set ourselves for failure.
Great, thank you. And Ellen, just a follow-up question on that. Do you think you ended up working with a different partner than you would have using a more traditional procurement process? So if you had have just gone out with a request for proposal or something like that, instead of going through the process of designing the fair, inviting people in, do you think the result of that has been more kind of innovative, or you've networked with people in a different way than you would have just through the traditional RFP process?
I think the answer to this might differ depending on who you ask, because this is more of a guess than a definitive answer. But I would say at least that yes. I think if it was just a standard RFQ process, we might have, even in terms of who we might have attracted, it might have been more larger, more established companies who would have found it attractive to just go through that. But I think given that we were providing a platform, we were putting in a lot more effort into giving that sense of here's what we want, how can we work together, that flexibility. I think it attracted a wider crowd or range of applicants and companies. So, yeah.
I think it also showed us our own limitation and really the value of partnering and how the partnership with WFP is really, I mean, for us, really appeared as the right way to go, because we do realize that there's a lot of blockchain technology solutions out there that exist that we could use, but trying to find systems that we can develop together with other UN agencies, instead of just having each our own little blockchain project, but instead having one that is common and that we build together, we find it much more that the time and the effort that we're putting in it, in developing this system was much more interesting if we were doing it together than alone.
Mm.